Hello and welcome to a Dota 2 pub replay. It has been quite a while since I've done one of these because I am a lazy bastard and also university takes up quite a lot of time when I'm too lazy to do my work at the very least. But I'm back at least for the moment, not that anyone watches these, and I'm here with another nice high level pub game. Let's get the free camera on and let's have a look at the drafts. For the Radiant team, we have a Void Spirit Tiny offlane, a Mag PA safe lane, and a Leshrac mid. Whereas for the Dire, we have a Void Winter Wyvern on the safe lane, a Windranger mid, and a Rubik Death Prophet on the offlane. Most likely, yes, almost certainly. Was wondering a little with the Death Prophet being AFK, maybe it was the support Windranger running to get a mid ward down. But either way, it is nice to have a pause really early on in the game. Not for the players, it's really very annoying, we all know it. But for me at least, it's very nice because I get to talk complete shit about the draft for a little bit. For example, PA Magnus in the bot lane. Let's have a little look at their starting items. There's a hotkey for this somewhere, but I don't know what it is. It is one of these show items. Here we are. Very nice. So if we have a look, what do they have? Ring of Regen on the Magnus, which is perhaps a little bit unique. But either way, this bottom lane has massive damage problems. Let's get last hits and denies up. Wonderful. You might notice I'm very rusty with this UI, but I will endeavour to give you a mediocre piece of content anyway. Low damage in the bottom lane. PA needs her level 6 before any damage comes out of that hero at all. Sure, it can pick up kills with support. However, on its own, not a huge threat. Most offlaners are going to be able to handle a PA reasonably handily, and Magnus is not a particularly powerful laning support. Yes, the skewering an opponent under a tower is very potent, and what it does in the game is huge. Empower is such a powerful farming steroid, but early lane, if you can't quite get all those nice skewers under tower, you're really just a sack of meat to get the shit kicked out of you. And that appears, and I imagine that will be what happens. Nice aggressive ward placed down by the Magnus here. We'll see what comes of that. Perhaps very worried about the rotations of the Windranger into this lane, and I've missed first blood where the Winter Wyvern seems to have been just jumped on, picked up by the Aether Remnant and held in place with the Avalanche, which is actually a lot of CC for level 1 and does a remarkable amount of damage at the same time. But just to deal with this bottom lane, because I like finishing my thoughts, even while the Windranger gets pushed under tower and starting to get a little bit harassed out by the Leshrac, who already has a level advantage, does miss the Split Earth though. And with a power shot to respond, yes, I was checking the name of the ability, it's been a while, ladies and gentlemen. But as I was saying, there you are, just a sack of meat to get hit by the opposing support. However, you are a very large ham. It takes a lot of damage to put you down, and he has the movement speed advantage over the Rubik, who started Magic Wand because of the Stifling Dagger spam that he expected. But the courier arrives with boots just in time, and that will absolutely keep the Rubik safe while wasting quite a lot of time on the Magnus' part, leaving a 1v1 in the bottom lane between the Death Prophet and the PA, which the Death Prophet is quite happily going to abuse with that radiant advantage and remarkably high base damage. 65 is nothing to sniff at, especially when you combine the Soul Siphon and the Crypt Swarm. Courier gets sniped in the top lane. Looks like a lot of disruption is going down, and somehow or other the Magnus actually dies to the Rubik. Which is interesting. Boots clearly overpowered. But we do see the Death Prophet starting to actually get pressured in this matchup, which is a bit of a surprise. The PA has a level advantage, might go for a kill with the creep advantage, but no. Let's drag the wave away as the Magnus goes for a pull. Meanwhile, on the top lane, I have been far too focused on the bottom lane for what has happened. I should keep a better eye at the health bars at the top of the screen, try and get an idea of what's going on. So if we consult the CS, it seems very even up top, with surprisingly the Tiny being a core and the Void Spirit being a support. I was almost convinced it would be the opposite. And the advantage of this, obviously, is you get that lovely tiny burst damage just a little bit sooner, and the Blink Dagger much quicker. And against a lineup like this, with the Wind Ranger and the Rubik, and the Void to some extent, you can just burst them and blow them up, especially if you have an Aether Remnant to assist. As it is quite a nice little bit of lockdown, especially to set up. Void is pulling ahead in this top lane, but I should say Faceless and Void Spirit. That'll be what I try and go with. Void Spirit trying to just run interference the whole time and just generally be annoying. That is really what that support is all about. Very mobile. Not so much mobile without the ultimate, actually, but certainly not terrible, and quite good at trading with the shield. Void toss back as the Tiny is brought low. A lot of pressure coming out. Hard for this Tiny to stand in lane. Obviously, has no armor, so has been forced to go for the Ring of Protection. But even with it, it's a very minimal amount of physical damage reduction, and he's really standing in this lane 2v1, while the Void Spirit makes the rotation. He does have the Aether Remnant, which he lands. Will he leave it for the Leshrac? He does. Isn't a knob. Doesn't use the Resonant Pulse to steal away the kill, which was probably wise, considering how we all know pub players can get, even at the highest level. And that does massively help out the mid lane, though it doesn't seem like the Leshrac really needed it in the first place, with a 24-9 difference. Massive outplays that I really wish I'd caught on camera. But no, we're here instead, where the Tiny is continuing to be pressured, especially since the Void Spirit left to go gank mid, but it seems like that has been successful, as it has empowered him enough to bring down the Winter Wyvern on the way back, though Tiny will die for it, going to the Faceless Void, which is not ideal, certainly. I think you lose that exchange. Any extra farm on the Faceless Void is gonna be a little scary. He is a powerful late game beast, and Leshrac still just sort of playing very aggressively around this mid lane, which he has done the entire time. But now the Winter Wyvern has arrived and is circling around. Not the greatest hero in the world for a setup kill without the ultimate, but does have a bit of a slow, which he will deploy. Seems like he's really here for defense more than attack, but a quick shackle shot, if a target presents itself, might give them the opportunity to kill someone. But the Void Spirit has arrived and will be acting as a deterrent. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the Rubik's brought down. Death Prophet tries for a retaliation kill, but has no stun, with the Rubik being dead. And so the PA is free to just teleport out. Might be picking up quite a lot of farm here, with that looks to be a triple stacked camp, if she decides to go for it, as it annihilates the wave. Magnus trying to soak up some of that sweet XP without getting his face torn off by those quite scary creeps stacked up in that camp. And it looks like the Void Spirit was brought down mid. Leshrac accepting his death, jumps in with the haste rune, perhaps hoping to bring down at least the opposing mid laner, but with the sudden level 6 in the middle of that fight, focus fire is leveled, and Leshrac is killed. Void Spirit already going back in, hungry for more. But he should be careful that he does not overstep. And down bottom, looks like more fighting over this stack. They can't afford to let an empowered PA farm this. It would really speed up that carry's farm and make it a lot more dangerous in this lane. And the fight now kicks off. PA almost brought down immediately, is caught off by the Crypt Swarm. Will they be able to find one in return? Void Spirit is here on the backline, but the right clicks and the Life Siphon just do so much. They seem to snipe the Rubik, but no, he's away on just a tiny bit of HP. Jukes out the jump and manages to pick off the Magnus with a Fade Bolt before he's brought down. Is brought down, but even so, 2-for-1 trade, including the carry. Though the triple stack does still stand, but it's getting harder and harder to contest this Death Prophet. Getting very scary now. And PA has no chance of clearing this without the Empower. Sure, she can blur and very slowly work her way through it, but that is in no way as efficient as it is with the Empower, which is now given to her, and she will clean up that camp while invisible. And that is going to be quite good for that PA, who clearly needed the gold to try and catch up. Have been having a bit of a hard one. Sure, was fine on the last hits and denies, but even still, it's quite a scary lane to play into. A lot of nuke damage coming out from that offlane. And Tiny now has his ultimate, has that armor, is much more easily able to stand in lane and go toe-to-toe, but with the rotation of the mid laner and the focus fire, your ult's not going to save you here. And the Aether Remnant comes out a little too late to be of any use at all. Whereas the Leshrac has taken the mid tower and is hungry for more. But it's very difficult for him to rotate more efficiently than this Wind Ranger, in as much as the mobility is reduced, and I doubt he's too unhappy to just wait for his Yule Scepter, farm aggressively. He is under ward vision, and he can try and go for a snipe on this tower from the trees if he is so inclined. We'll see if he tries to do that, as the Tiny has moved towards bottom to try and help out, though spotted on the ward. Nice one behind the tower there, as they do back off with the end of the Exorcism. Leshrac is found, but pops the Diabolic Edict and starts to run away. But Shackle Shot doesn't quite connect, but it's a lot of damage, and the silence goes out. They need to create a bit of space, and they do with the Skewer. Caught by the Avalanche. Need a toss. Need a little bit more damage. No RP on the Magnus yet, so no big team fight for them, but they might just barely get away. Tiny almost certainly going to fall down. Does get shackled just barely to the tree. But certainly they stemmed the damage. They stemmed the bleeding on that fight. And with Exorcism down, it's going to be a lot harder for them to transition straight into taking this mid tower, but it looks like they're going to try anyway. Though they have to siege it a lot slower than otherwise. And now we're getting into the point of the game where the PA with Empower can really start to scale if they don't lose their map. And that's going to be the main focus of this Dire squad. They've got two real objectives. Keep the Void safe with some sort of farm, which he can do quite easily. He's quite a survivable hero in a game like this, which doesn't have any extremely easy setup disables. All of them require a little bit of hit, can be a little bit of setup, and can be juked out to some extent. And if you can juke something like that, a Void is very powerful, which means he can play aggressively and his team doesn't have to focus too hard on really making space for him, which means they can transition to their second major objective, which is pressure this PA. PA Magnus scales extremely well and extremely fast. You get a free, roughly 4k item in the form of Empower. That's a free Battle Fury. Anti-Mage has to farm for that. And you get it for free, which means all of your item timings come out extremely fast, and that is hard to deal with. But that's only if you're allowed to farm, and the Dire do not seem intent on letting them do that. Diving behind the tier 1 mid, they want to get something out of this. Either one of the combo isn't bad. If you take away this PA, as that power shot does beautifully, and by PA I meant Magnus, then you lose the Empower. At least for a little while, and then they have to set up to put it back on. That will slow down the farming speed. It's not the ideal. You'd want to kill the PA, or at least force her out of the jungle. But they forced her out of the bottom jungle and into the triangle, which is restricting the space for the rest of the team. They've got a silence on the Void Spirit. Shouldn't really get too far, as they don't have the damage to burst him within that silence. But it's looking good for the Dire right now, as they continue to apply pressure. Exorcism not going to be up for at least another minute, and they will be hesitant to really go for a fight without Exorcism, but the Winter's Curse comes out, only catches the Leshrac and the Void Spirit, but it's enough damage, followed up with a Shackle Shot, and the Focus Fire will bring down the Leshrac in the early moments of the fight, as the Wind Ranger starts to get away, but is caught by the Power Shot, saved by the Winter's Embrace, and the Chronosphere on top. Beautifully, almost bring down the Magnus. RP's committed, finds the Void, but they just can't take down this Wind Ranger. Tiny stuck in no man's land, shackled up, and brought down by a series of bashes and right clicks. Whereas the Magnus still trying to run away, just going to waste time. Unlikely he gets out of here. Almost absolutely impossible. His only hope was to try and hide in the trees with the TP, but there was a courier right on top of him. And that was not likely. Another very nice fight for the Dire, starting to swing their way, starting to win the early game with a against lineup like this, which requires that really fast early game farm timing on this PA, who hasn't got their Desolator yet, though is getting very close, and that will be when this starts to get scary, especially if you can get it before all the results come off cooldown. There'll be a very small timing for that. But if you can get this Desolator and transition straight into a fight before the Chrono and the Winter's Curse come off cooldown, then you have a pretty good chance of really swinging the momentum of this game. But if they can't do that, and they fall prey to the teamfight ults again, this will become difficult to say the least. Void is having an exceptional game. He's keeping up with the PA's farm, the empowered PA, and yet Void is keeping up. And Void wins this late game matchup. He wins this matchup pretty easily one-on-one when the items are roughly even. It's certainly promising for the Dire. As we see, they've invaded the triangle once again under a smoke, and they will find a support for their trouble. Not the target they wanted, but they will take it nonetheless. Farm out the triangle and then move out of the area once they grab those bounty runes. Radiant doing an admirable job of holding on to what they can of the map, despite the constant pressure that's coming out from the Dire. And here they go again. Aether Lens on the Rubik gives him that nice catch range that he's often sorely lacking when you play him. But Dire do not seem very inclined to be moving away from this triangle. Exorcism committed to take down that tier 1, but they don't really need it at this point. They have firm control of that side of the map. And there's not a huge amount that the Radiant can really do to stop the pressure or to mirror it. Because those are, the way I see it, there's those two options when you have the map. You gotta, if they're trying to take something, you gotta get something, or you gotta stop them taking it. Ideally, both. That's rarely likely. A game like Dota, you don't get everything. And if you did, we wouldn't really enjoy playing it. And they do find the initiation onto the Faceless Void, and he's caught up. He does have the Chronosphere, and he does pop it just to run away. And the Leshrac's still alive, dangerous even within the Chronosphere. But the Shackle Shot manages to find the PA, bring her out of the fight as she jumps onto the Wind Ranger. RP is committed, but the Wind Run is down at the same time. But I find it unlikely they won't find the Wind Ranger off the back of this. But she does actually get away with a well-timed something or other. I didn't quite catch it. And they actually find the PA with the power on the back lines. Tiny stuck up there on the high ground, desperately trying to run away, but there's no hope of that, and what looked to be a very promising fight goes horribly awry as the supports are left running for their lives. Skewer is up, but the Shackle Shot almost connects to the tree, but thankfully the Skewer manages to cut it down. But the power shots are absolutely on point this game, sniping left, right and center. And I thought he was playing Wind Ranger. Leshrac immediately going for another play, but he doesn't get the split earth, and there's enough present there from the Dire to make him reconsider. This game is getting very dangerous now. One more rough team fight for the Radiant, and it may be beyond saving. Right now, these fights are extremely close, being decided by just a hair's breadth of damage. Hair's breadth? Hair's breadth. And it looks like they want to set up for the Roshan, which really does have an edge of finality to it. And the Dire are well aware, smoked up, setting up the wards. But they don't have the Chronosphere, but Exorcism is up. And so is the Winter's Curse, which catches 3 of them and the Tiny, immediately brought down out of the fight, gets the Avalanche off, but will be killed immediately afterwards. PA getting out there with just a shred of HP as the Focus Fire is committed, and there's no way they're staying alive. And now it's just a matter of cleanup. Leshrac cannot do too much, especially now the BKBs are coming out. Cancelled TP with the Yules. It's just a matter of running down the fast, angry little horse. He will be brought down, and they go straight into the Roshan pit. The Rubik even stole Empower, just to make it that much easier. Very nice pick against this Magnus for exactly that reason. Everyone in the game has their own little Empower now. It looks like the Void Spirit will be going for the steal. But the silence is too much, and he might pay for his arrogance. No, silence wears off, and the Crypt Swarm misses, giving him a much needed chance to try and juke into the trees. Gets the TP off, and barely gets out of there before Vision gives the Yules cancel. And now a 7k net worth lead. Well, PA still seems to be in the race. It's getting harder and harder. Not even managing to pick off the Rubik there. Focus Fire immediately committed. Some mistakes with the camera. Rubik does go down on the backlines, and they are trying to get this Wind Ranger. RP's committed to stun her through the BKB and absolutely ensure the kill. And they definitely need to get something a little bit more, though that is a nice sight to see. Signs of life. It's anyone's game. So long as the Radiant keep playing smart and exploiting any positional mistakes they can find in numbers. Now, I'm not really looking at anything. Let's look at the carries. Let's have a look at the items. MKB finished up on the Void. I've not really been keeping up with the items. Let's have a look in here instead. Desolator's finished, whereas MKB is finished on the Void. By comparison, the Chronosphere is committed. Speaking of the carries, one kills the other without too much difficulty. The MKB really spelling the end for this PA. Her only real mechanism for survival. Mostly rendered inert by that wonderful item the Void likes to build anyway. That's why it's quite a nice carry matchup, considering you naturally itemize what your hero naturally wants to buy, beats the opposing carry. And even so, both are looking for that BKB. Though Void does feel reasonably far ahead at this point. And by comparison, or I suppose looking at the other positions, comparing the mid laners, remarkably even. In fact, Leshrac is even ahead in farm, but it's not enough. The hero doesn't do enough when suddenly with this BKB first on the Wind Ranger. Smart itemization, which we like to see. Winter's Curse committed to try and save the Void, as he is almost caught. I'm getting a little bit of lag. Oh, the Split Earth isn't quite there, but the Aether Remnant is. Can they bring him down? No! It's turned around. PA almost dead. Needs to just barely lifesteal, but the Winter's Embrace stops that. And there goes the Leshrac as well. Toss combo doesn't achieve much, as the Tiny will be killed with the Stolen Split Earth and a few right clicks from the Wind Ranger. Now, your scepters for setup all over the shop. Can't even skewer away. Very nice split earth. The joy of Rubik not having a cast point. And they immediately transitioned to the tower. They didn't even need exorcism for that fight, which will rapidly speed up their tower taking speed, while Void just pieces. Just leaves. He's not even needed. He's going to go farm his own jungle instead of hitting a tower. But at this level, that's probably a better decision than it is at mine. Ooh, wow, I really am getting a little bit of lag. My apologies to perhaps the one singular person who watches this, if you do in fact exist. And if you aren't myself. Double damage rune doesn't save Void Spirit's life, as the more superior Void in this game beats him down for daring to have such a confusing name. Both the mid and top lanes are being pressured in now, making it a... well, they're being pressured in. That's quite good. They're starting to tick down those towers, but you see they're still being careful. They're not overextending and spreading out too much to give the Radiant any window back into this game. They're playing carefully. But it looks like they might just be about to split up with the Void Spirit. Faceless Void going towards the tier 3 while the rest of his team was hitting a tier 2, but they realise the errors of their ways and they turn up to help him out. Aegis expires. This is the one window the Radiant have, but their team isn't even entirely here. In fact, it seems like they have completely given up. They've given up so much that I might in fact put it on a slightly higher speed, as this game is definitely over. And yeah, I don't think we even need to really finish this, but I will just let the game end. Yeah, it was close. If a few of those team fights go the other way, or the PA gets a little bit further ahead, that could be a very different game. But very well played by the 2 through 5 positions of the Dire to keep that from happening.